Harry Potter is a name we've all heard growing up. The magical adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione are like a childhood dream to all of us. But the mind behind the incredible plot and fascinating characters, JK Rowling, has her own story that's worth knowing. It's a true rags-to-riches tale. Welcome back to Personify. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Personify to learn more about your favorite people. If you really enjoy, share with your friends, and let us know in the comments your favorite Harry Potter book. Born Joanne Rowling in 1965 in Yate, Gloucestershire, the daughter of Anne, a science technician, and Peter, an aircraft engineer. Rowling actually shared her birthday with our beloved Harry Potter. Rowling had a difficult childhood from the start. Her parents were expecting a boy, however, that wish obviously didn't come true. Nonetheless, they raised her like a boy. However, upon the birth of her young sister, Diane, they had a different reaction and were ironically happy. In an interview, Rowling revealed that in all childhood photos, she was always dressed in blue and her sister in pink. She once asked her parents if they were also disappointed when her younger sister was born, and they said no. She was disheartened by this and cried for days. Like her childhood, Rowling's teenage years were not a smooth ride. Her mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Seeing her mother go through this painful disease was really hard, left a mark on her life. As for her father, they had a strained relationship ever since her childhood. This later influenced the character of Harry Potter and explains why Harry has so many father figures. She probably wanted her protagonist to have the love that she missed all of her life. Amid all these problems, Rowling managed to become an excellent student at school and excelled in English. Right from the start, she loved to write and would often read fantasy stories she wrote to her little sister. Many characters and places from her novels are based upon real people and places from Rowling's life, like Rowling grew up on a suburban street just outside Bristol, and her house even had a cupboard under the stairs, just like Harry Potter. Their house was always surrounded by forests, trees, and fields, including the Forest of Dean, which was mentioned in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The character of Hermione Granger was based upon her own younger self. Her headmaster at St. Michael's, Alfred Dunn, has been suggested as the inspiration for the Harry Potter headmaster Albus Dumbledore. In secondary school, Rowling had a chemistry teacher named John Nettleship, whom she found very unlikable, and based Professor Severus Snape's character on him. Aunt Marge was based on her grandmother, whom she greatly disliked. A mischievous young boy named Ian Potter lived 4 doors away from her home. Rowling drew inspiration for Harry's character from him. One of her best childhood friends, Sean Harris, was a huge inspiration for Ron's character. Sean was always there for Rowling, which is a noticeable trait from Ron, always being there for Harry. Rowling's parents met at the King Cross railway stations, which is why she finds railways so romantic and has made them a place of huge importance in her series. In her teenage years, her great-aunt gave her a copy of Jessica Mitford's autobiography, Hans and Rebels. Mitford became Rowling's heroine, and she read all of her books. Later, Rowling named her first daughter after her. Rowling got her first essay published by the University of Exeter, where she earned a BA degree in French and Classics. The trigger to write the Harry Potter series came from a picture of an encaged, crying child, which Rowling saw in a newspaper. In 1990, while she was on a 4-hour delayed train trip from Manchester to London, the idea for a story of a young boy attending a school of wizardry came fully formed into her mind. She began penning down her ideas as soon as she reached London. Subsequently, Rowling's mother, Anne, died after a 10-year battle with multiple sclerosis. Rowling's life was deeply affected. She began channeling her feelings of loss by writing about Harry's feelings of loss in greater detail in the first book. Later, Rowling married George Arantes, a Portuguese television journalist, in 1992. Her first child, Jessica Isabel Rowling Arantes, was born in July 1993. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't last, and she and her husband separated the following November. Rowling and her then infant daughter moved to Edinburgh, Scotland to be near Rowling's sister, with 3 chapters of what would become Harry Potter in her suitcase. Doubts remain she has gone through some domestic abuse during her first marriage. 7 years after graduating from university, Rowling saw herself as a failure. Her marriage had failed and she was jobless, with a dependent child. But Rowling took advantage of this period of despair and began focusing on her book more. Shadows and dark clouds were around her all the time, having clinical depression, and she even contemplated suicide. Her illness inspired the characters known as the Dementors, soul-sucking creatures introduced in the 3rd Harry Potter book. Having no other financial support, Rowling had to sign up for welfare, describing her economic status as being, quote, poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless, end quote. Despite all these struggles, she went on writing, and when completed, the book was submitted to 12 publishing houses. More trouble struck Rowling's life when all of them rejected the manuscript, saying it was childish and unrealistic. A year later, the manuscript was finally given the green light, and a £1,500 advance by editor Barry Cunningham from Bloomsbury, a publishing house in London. The decision to publish Rowling's book owes much to the 8-year-old daughter of Bloomsbury's chairman, Alice Newton, who was given the first chapter to review by her father. She was hooked to the story and demanded the next part. In June 1997, Bloomsbury published Philosopher's Stone with an initial print run of 1,000 copies. Today, such copies are valued between £16,000 and £25,000. 5 months later, the book won its first award, a Nestle Smarties Book Prize. In February, the novel won the British Book Award for Children's Book of the Year, and later, the Children's Book Award. She's written many books, including Fantastic Beasts, The Cuckoo's Calling, The Casual Vacancy, and others. The tables had turned for Rowling now. Each new book of the series brought more profit and more awards for her. Despite all the fame and wealth, her human nature was still present. She'd reached the status of the 2nd richest female entertainer. Nothing stopped her from giving to charities and donations, especially for children. In 2012, Forbes removed Rowling from their rich list, claiming that her $160 million in charitable donations and the high tax rate in the UK meant she was no longer a billionaire. In February 2013, she was assessed as the 13th most powerful woman in the United Kingdom by Woman's Hour on BBC Radio 4. Rowling married Scottish doctor Neil Murray in December of 2001. They have 2 children, including a son and a daughter. She's been a big-hearted philanthropist throughout her career. Anti-poverty, children's welfare, and multiple sclerosis remain her main targets. Thank you guys. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to know more about the coolest people and things going on around the globe. Tell us in the comments section what inspiration you drew from Rowling's life, her struggles, and her success.